Hello, I'm Carrie Dara, and welcome to Grow Cedar Valley webinar series. This morning, we have our Metro mayors. So we have Mayor Quentin Hart from Waterloo and Mayor Rob Green from Cedar Falls. And we just asked the mayors to join us to give an update, kind of the current state of affairs. As we all know, things are changing not only daily, but hourly. So hearing from you about how you are either preparing or how you're planning or how you're dealing with a lot of what's going on. So first, I'll just have you kind of open it up and share some of what's top of mind for you that you want our viewers and our audience to understand. And I'll start with you, Rob. Why don't you go ahead, Mayor Green?
All right, thank you, Carrie. So I've got 7 items that I wanted to talk with you about quickly this morning. And I'll still say good morning, Cedar Valley, because it is a good morning. We'll talk about the city response for COVID-19, our capital improvements plan, a little bit of downtown streetscaping, some construction, annexing, the Sturgis Falls celebration, and then some of our plans for reopening the city. So for a COVID response, currently, we're still looking at buildings being closed to the public, the government buildings, until at least May 15th. Our parks and outdoor areas are still open, and the golf course is open. We're being really careful to monitor that for social distancing. So if you want to use the course, just be really careful. Inspections and other things that happen at the city level, we're still doing as before. We're just doing it with some additional precautions and trying to do everything at a distance. And then the last is waiting for that emergency proclamation to expire. We can't really reopen until that does happen, which we're hoping for around May 15th. So one of the big things for us as a change is our capital improvements plan. We're looking to change it out to see what projects still make sense to do in this coming year and which things might need to be pushed back. Since the Blackhawk County Gaming Association will have the inability to do grants this year, that means some of those projects are just off the table. So can we either reapply those funds to other projects, or do we just hold off? Those are things we'll be talking about in the weeks and months to come. Any of those changes will require city council approval. Downtown streetscaping. If you're in downtown Cedar Falls, you'll see a lot of construction, a lot of closed areas. That's because we're moving out the pavers, the old pavers, and putting in all new streetscape. That includes also poles, benches, and other amenities, and it should be complete this summer. It looks like this, so just be careful as you're with these downtown businesses as they reopen. You'll still see some construction area there. Another big item downtown is the 302 Main Street project, and that's where the Wells Fargo building used to be. It's going to be new buildings at a max of 6 stories with some new residential and retail options. It's going to visually extend that look of downtown out to State Street, and we're really excited to have this project come forward. Some Annex Properties, that was a big item in this last council meeting, was getting some new property put into the city plan, and that's for industrial park expansion, which gives us some new options for companies, and that's on the southwest corner of town. Sturgis Falls celebration, I know, is a big question on people's minds of whether that's still going to occur. It's a very important event for Cedar Falls tourism and the economy. We're expecting the Sturgis Falls Celebration Board to make a decision on that soon. We did, as a city council, did approve deferring one of their loan payments for a year because we understand they're going to have difficulties with some of their payments if they don't have the sponsorship levels they had last year. Okay, so reopening the city is a big question. What happens in the next couple of months? It'll be in coordination with county officials, especially the Blackhawk County Department of Public Health. It'll need that emergency proclamation to expire from the governor first, and it's not going to happen until at least May 15th. We're expecting to see a gradual ease of restrictions in Cedar Falls, similar to what's happening in the other counties after May 1st. Where we may have just limited spacing inside restaurants, decreased capacity in order to see whether we're going to have a second wave of COVID incidents. So city buildings, we expect that those two will be open at a gradual rate. If it's the rec center, you might see some equipment still off limits, or maybe just increased distance, the locker rooms, things like that. So we'll have more information. So stay tuned on that. And that's my presentation.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. You know, one thing, and we talk about this internally too for Grow Cedar Valley, there are a lot of things going on that no one ever expected or could ever plan for, but we still have our business as usual of helping our businesses grow, now helping our businesses survive and get through this disaster however we can help them to get to the recovery phase. But again, you've just demonstrated, I know Mayor Hart would not disagree, that there is still business as usual that has to go on, occur in the cities, in the county, and the state too. So thank you for the update on some of the things that are affected definitely by the pandemic, but aren't completely erased because of it. So how about you, Mayor Hart? What's your update for Waterloo?
All right, so good morning to everyone, or if you're watching it later on, good evening. Thank you, Carrie and Grow Cedar Valley, for putting these webinars on so that we can have an opportunity, another opportunity to be able to reach out to our community. I just want to say first, if when people think about the COVID and about all that's taking place, I don't think they really understand the coordination that must happen. For about the last month and a half, we've been involved with the Emergency Operations Center. And it is the county, it's the Blackhawk County Public Health Department, it is multi-cities, hospitals, but we are all meeting once a day, and other groups are meeting more to try to get a handle on this COVID. As Carrie mentioned, we haven't seen a day like this before, or a time like this, but the more that we can work together, the more that we can be on one accord when we're making decisions, the better off it will be for our entire community. So there's a group of people that are working hard on your behalf and trying to make scientific, smart decisions to help aid us as we go through this. And also, in addition to working with this group, there's 500 plus employees here in the city of Waterloo, and we are doing our best to try to maintain services, but at the same time, be very smart and strategic and try to keep all our employees safe from a number of things to attempting to put in thermometer checks, attempting to make sure that we communicate every week with city employees and offer some encouragement or tips that they may need to follow through our Friday update that I give to all of our employees. With regards to what's taking place in the city, first I want to say I can't stress enough to all of you to make sure that you remain safe. You know, I have 3 children and have a wife and have a ton of calls that come every day about people wanting to open things up, people wanting to do this type of event. But I say that right now, the protection and our safety is absolutely highly important. So I want to continue to stress, be safe at home. And with regards to what's taking place, similar to Mayor Green, we are, services, providing them. Parks are open at a minimum. Golf courses are open at a minimum. So about the same services from both cities as well. Council meetings are now virtual council meetings, which has been a great experiment and possibly how things are going to be in the future. So we are doing that as well. We also did an emergency proclamation a little while ago, which gives me the ability to be able to move through some of these processes a little bit faster, but also offer the flexibility to be able to protect our city when we need to. So we've had a rough time, but I am optimistic that we are going to come through this even better. And the new normal will probably be some of the things that we're doing now. Maybe a little bit of more social distancing, maybe a little bit more of washing hands, but trying to protect ourselves so that we can protect others may be the new normal that we'll be facing within our communities.
Right.
Economic development is still moving forward. Several projects that we'll continue to place on our website that you're aware of it. But last but not least, Carrie, I think, did you want to answer the question about reopening?
Sure. Yes, please.
Well, I'll probably say we are similar to Mayor Green mentioned. We'll be taking a look at the governor's recommendations. We'll still be working with the Emergency Operations Center and our Blackhawk County Public Health Department to help incorporate some of the best practices to keep people safe while they're in the midst of dealing with this new normal as well. But we want to be smart. We want to be strategic. As you know, we have become one of the hotspots. So once those restrictions are lifted, we will have to be very cautious in our approach. I'm sorry to say that. And I've had several business owners that have called or reached out to my office concerned too. But I think as long as we take a strategic approach, we use and we share best practices. I think that will be able to mitigate and help us to move forward. But I'm just as anxious as everyone else, but I'm optimistically cautious in moving forward.
I'm
You touched on,
cautiously optimistic, so that works out well.
yeah, yeah, they complement each other. Very good. And you touched on something that, we've talked about with our team. It maybe several months ago or a few months ago, it hasn't been this long that we've been having to readjust, significantly, but working remotely and virtual communication used to be something that people maybe considered, but they weren't too confident or they weren't sure. It wasn't really comfortable. Now you just have to dive in the deep end and do it. And like you said, Mayor, you may find that it's a preferable way to get business done and to communicate. And I really think not only local government, but I really think a lot of our business community is looking at how will we get into recovery and use what we learned from this pandemic, this disaster, this crisis. What have we learned that has made us stronger? And I really think that that's important for us all to be open-minded about understanding. Again, not just local government, not just businesses, not just education or healthcare. I think we're all going to learn a lot of very good, strong, preferable lessons to take away from this. You kind of both touched on what I wanted to eventually get to about a recovery. We at Grow Cedar Valley have been careful that we are already in the planning mode of what recovery, first of all, identifying what is recovery, and then how do we implement it in a way that we can help as many people as possible. But we're also very sensitive that it might be a little early right today to launch some of those opportunities or some of those questions. But you can never plan too early. And you can never prepare too early. So what are some of the things that either you would recommend or that you would like some input? I mean, I know you're always wanting inputs because that's the nature of what you do. But what kinds of things can we help you with, or some of our audience help you in the planning and preparation for how we get through this? And then what's it going to look like? And who are we going to be?
Well, Mayor, we can kind of tag team one at a time on some of these. It doesn't have to be a total answer, but I think when we take a look at overall best practices and finding out what some of those practices are, for instance, how do we reopen a restaurant and still do it in a way that protects the customers and protect the people that work there? So some of those best practices and best scientific tips that could be shared with multiple businesses, I believe will be really helpful and beneficial also. So that's my first one.
Yeah, I would ask for help and a better understanding of what some of the relief needs are. I saw in the paper about Waterloo's consideration of maybe changing some fees or changing the dates of fees due to the city. So having a better sense for what businesses are where they're really struggling is in terms of payments, fees, things like that. Love to get input on that.
Very good.
I would probably also add to what we've seen is that this virus doesn't discriminate, but it does have a disparate impact based upon who you are as well. So just the continuation of taking a look at the health indicators, the evidence, where we may run a risk or if we're endangering people by the service we provide. I think, wanting to rush to restart it is incredible for the economy, but we just want to make sure that it's done in a smart, sensible manner, so that it doesn't backfire. And then also, with relation to our small businesses, I saw there was a list of about 50 businesses, and that was incredible, incredible, and we appreciate it. But if you take a look overall at the diversity of the businesses that received funding, I think there was one Latino business, but African American and maybe Bosnians may not have fared so well. So, as Mayor Green mentioned, we also have to take a holistic look at all the businesses within our community from every background to make sure we're addressing those needs as well.
Right. Well, and like you said, we want to be able to open and have it be sustained and not have to go back in and have some going back and forth with the openings and then not so much. So we're totally there with you. We are at Grow Cedar Valley. We're all about, first of all, this pandemic is not to be politicized. This is absolutely an issue that affects everybody. Like Mayor Hart just said, it doesn't discriminate at all. So we are prepared to help however we can make sure that these decisions are made and that we inform. The education and communication is utmost priority to get to our businesses, to get to their employees, and to get to the entire community. And you both are doing a great job getting information out, and we want to just exponentially help that communication that you're already working on. I guess in closing, and we intentionally like these seminars to be timed so that people can hop off from joining all of us and then listen to the governor when she presents at 11. But is there anything you'd like to share? So there may only be a couple hundred people watching now, but this is going to be posted on several platforms. So there'll be several hundred people that will eventually be listening to this and listening to your thoughts and requests and your opinions. So what would you like to share anything else about not only the pandemic, which is everybody's top of mind, it has to be, but getting through the recovery getting through the crisis and into recovery. Again, we are very, very positive that this is painful and this is going to be painful for a while longer, but we know that this community is so strong and resilient that we're excited about helping that piece of getting through this too. But I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, to think of it as a national crisis, to see that businesses are affected across the country, and as companies and individuals are very concerned right now about being able to pay their bills, being able to meet their payroll, things like that. I hope there's, as difficult as that is, I hope there's at least a little bit of group comfort in the fact that businesses are doing this, they're dealing with this all together. So sharing of ideas, and also just encouraging each other is going to be incredibly important. And I'll just close to say my concern, especially now, is that second wave. As we saw a similar issue back in the 1918 pandemic, when the protocols lifted and where people are allowed to do what they needed, that second hit was much worse than the first. I want to make sure that we've learned from that and don't repeat it.
And as we go through this transition and this recovery, that we're prepared to deal with that, as you just described. Very, very important. Mayor Hart.
And I want to agree with everything that the mayor just said, but I also want to add in that tough times. I believe and very optimistic that we will make it through these and actually thrive even better. I want to thank everyone that supporting our restaurants, our main streets, the restaurants and other areas that are open, but I also want to give a special thank you to our retail workers, to our clerks, to our city staffs, to our frontline EMS workers and frontline healthcare workers that are, running to address the problems and the challenges and the overall health and well-being. I've just been so inspired by all of you and all that you are doing for our community. So I want to personally thank you. Childcare workers, but I want to personally thank you so much for all that you're doing for our communities and for the health and well-being.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Like we said earlier, we know you're busy all the time anyway, and now we've been in triplicate, if not more. So to carve out a half hour with us on a really busy morning, we really, really appreciate. On Thursday morning of this week, we will be sharing this time with the superintendents of our schools. So we'll have Andy Paty from Cedar Falls, Jane Lindeman from Waterloo Schools, and then Tom Novotny from the Waterloo Catholic School System. So we'll be getting an update from them again at 10:30 on Thursday morning. Thank you, Mayor.